What it is, cucks, it's your boy the Hater. I got my hater blockers on, ironically, and I'm out here, hater on the road, going back home because my keyboard for my laptop stopped working, my Bluetooth keyboard, so I can't really do much work today as a result, which is a blessing and a curse because that means tomorrow the hater's going to be very busy. And the hater has to watch Monday Night Raw tomorrow to review that, so it's going to be an even busier day than normal. But anyways, we're not going to worry about that until tomorrow, and we're going to deal with today, right? The video of the day is a stark reality that most people, I think, already know deep in their hearts, but that many people don't want to admit. And that reality is that it does not feel like WrestleMania. Now, before everyone gets their panties up in a bunch with what I'm about to say about Jey Uso, let me make it perfectly clear. The hater has been consistent about Jey Uso the entire time. It's just that some people, quite frankly, just aren't intelligent enough to follow the dot across the screen, correctly. Here's how it goes. Jey Uso won the Rumble, right? Now, he is going forward to WrestleMania and exploring his path with Gunther, right? But that's not really the issue. I mean, that doesn't help, right? The fact that one of the matches for WrestleMania, period, involves Gunther and Jey Uso is, of course, not a good thing, right? I mean, Jey Uso, we already knew was going to have a match at WrestleMania. So, in my opinion, the fact that it's for the world title, the world heavyweight title, doesn't change anything. You know what I mean? I'll give you a great example. For example, last year, Jey Uso wrestled Jimmy Uso, and that match was far more important than, the World Heavyweight Championship match between Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre, which was a throwaway match that pretty much was only there to allow Damon Priest to cash in his Money in the Bank. So there is precedent for this. At every WrestleMania, there's title matches, and then there's matches that are more important than title matches, right? At nearly every WrestleMania, some WrestleManias, even the main event, or like the should-be main event, if you will, is better than WrestleMania. The should-be main event is, better than the actual main event. Like, for example, Umaga versus Lashley, with Trump and Vince. That was far more important than the match that year, which nobody remembers, you know what I mean? I think that year we also had Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle. I could be wrong. So it's like, there's a lot of matches that not only steal the show, but that are presented as more important, you know what I mean? So that's fine. But in this circle jerk, we usually have a match or two that makes it feel like WrestleMania, right? So even last year, the match that was supposed to happen, and you can go back to the haters' videos and listen to what I said about that, The Rock versus Roman for the title, that match felt like a WrestleMania match because The Rock is The Rock, and at that time, Roman Reigns was on top of the world. Now Roman Reigns is effectively a mid-carder. I don't really even give a flying fuck what anyone else says. He doesn't do anything impressive. He's just completely, one of the worst years in wrestling history, if you ask me. But that, in the aggregate, right, when everyone has had one of the worst years in wrestling history except for Jey Uso and Gunther, and we've already established that those guys suck balls, it makes WrestleMania not feel like WrestleMania. I mean, the way things are going, if the hater is correct, we're obviously going to see Sami Zayn versus Cucky Owens. We're probably going to see CM Punk versus Logan Paul, which is the only, thus far, WrestleMania-worthy match. You know what I mean? And that says something. Now, obviously, we have the possibility, and I'm hoping the probability, that John Cena wins the chamber match, right? Hopefully, they go with Logan Paul, CM Punk, which is what I'm predicting. And if that's the case, then obviously, other than CM Punk, nobody is even close to being fit to win the Elimination Chamber, right? I know people are going to be clamoring for Drew McIntyre, who has lost literally every single match since last WrestleMania. But, he beat Sami Zayn once on Raw. I don't give a fuck, you know what I mean? I'm talking about the real matches, motherfucks. But anyways, with all that being said, Cena can theoretically save this WrestleMania. But every other match just is not a WrestleMania-worthy match. We have Tiffany Stratton, who spent the large majority of the year being a lackey. Now she's the women's champion, and Charlotte is coming after her. Does anyone care who wins this match? I don't think anybody gives a rat's ass. It's probably going to be Tiffany Stratton in this, passing of the torch moment, but Charlotte's going to get her wins eventually, so it could be her. Who knows, right? More importantly, it just doesn't feel like WrestleMania because nothing feels big time. We don't feel like we're near the end of the season, right? If you watch a show, right, let's say Sons of Anarchy, right, you can anticipate when the end of the season is coming because things are wrapping up in an end of the season type of way. In wrestling, it used to be the same, right? We have two forces, let's say Stone Cold and The Rock, coming after each other on and off for a year, culminating in a main event. In this case, everything is being thrown together, you know? Nobody could have predicted that Jey Uso was going to be, the number one contender for the World Heavyweight title. But like, as we've said many times, nobody cares about that title, so that's perfectly fine. But that's more of like a Great Balls of Fire level match. It's not a WrestleMania level match, you know? It's not even a Backlash level match, you know, if we do like a pay-per-view hierarchy. But that's where we're at. You know, it seems like Solo Sikoa and Fatu are going to have a program. Nobody cares about this at all. You know, the tag team championships on both shows, completely irrelevant. You may as well not even have them anymore. That's how irrelevant they are. Nobody is seeking to have a WrestleMania moment any longer, aside from Jey Uso and John Cena, which is why these two guys are the only guys that are pretty much carrying this horseshit company right now, right? CM Punk is trying to, but I think the writing's on the wall. It's going to be him versus Logan. And Logan Paul obviously is great, so that could be a good match. That might be a WrestleMania quality match. But Cody Rhodes versus John Cena is an imbalanced match. It would be like having Triple H versus Goldust. You know what I mean? And I didn't even try to think about that. And the fact that Goldust and Stardust are brothers, that just came up randomly, right? The point is, it just doesn't feel big time. You know, part of this, I will concede, is that Jimmy Uso won the Royal Rumble, right? So like, a few years ago when Edge won the Royal Rumble, it felt big time because it's like, oh shit, Edge is going to go for the world title again. That's pretty badass, you know? Now the main world title, that's going to be developed and determined during the Elimination Chamber. So best case scenario, it's Cena. Now, other people like myself included, I'm pretty sure I said it first, cucks, but I could be wrong, said that Orton should just come, and in my opinion, just punt Cody in the head, taking him either out of WrestleMania or having him be in a meaningless match at WrestleMania. I don't give a flying fuck what happens. But this should have happened months ago, right? Orton versus Cena is a WrestleMania-worthy main event considering all the factors, right? But Cody Rhodes in the WrestleMania main event 3 years in a row is just not it, motherfucks. It just is not it. It doesn't feel big time at all, you know? And one of the possible permutations, this is never going to happen, is Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre in the main event of WrestleMania. Wow. The chosen ones main eventing WrestleMania when they couldn't even win a pre-show match. Think about that, cucks. The point here is this, right? WrestleMania needs to be set up with pageantry, with power, with boss-level matches. In other words, where is this year's Big Show versus Mayweather situation, right? Where is this year's Trump versus, Vince McMahon? Where is this year's any storyline match, motherfucks? There are no storylines going into WrestleMania. Zero. You dig? Zero. The only storyline is all of a sudden Seth Rollins hates Roman Reigns, even though he's someone that has turned face while Roman Reigns has turned face. He already screwed him last year from the title. And now he's going to try to do it again when he already did by throwing him off or, fucking him up, I guess, after the Rumble, you know? So with this in mind, the question becomes, what is the special attraction of this WrestleMania? There isn't one, right? This WrestleMania is unique because there is nobody that is big time in a big time moment. Last year, that was luckily saved by the night one main event, ironically, with The Rock being there and The Rock's overall presence, circling, vulturing around WrestleMania, right? The Rock was the centerpiece of last year's WrestleMania. They tried to tell you it was Cucky, but it wasn't. It was The Rock. The Rock was the one that made that WrestleMania feel even remotely like a WrestleMania. Because if it were up to those two assholes, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, it would feel like a throwaway, like Great Balls of Fire. Or maybe a Capital Punishment. One of these throwaway pay-per-views. It doesn't feel big time at all. Now, how do we make it big time? Well, for this year, it's effectively over. But generally speaking, you need a few special attractions. Now, I'm not saying you need celebrities necessarily, but you need something that draws in the casual fans. So if you have, for example, even like The Rock hosting WrestleMania, that draws in casual fans. If you have Big Show versus, Mayweather, or even Big Show versus Akibono, you know that you have something in this pay-per-view that's going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be the same old shit. Like, look, I'll give you a great example. Sheamus. I like Sheamus. You know what I mean? Daniel Bryan. I don't like him, but I get it. Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus, irrespective of the fact that it was like a 10-second match or whatever, is not a WrestleMania-worthy match. That's why it got 10 seconds. People are like, I can't believe it got 10 seconds. I can. Nobody wants to see these guys for more than 10 seconds at this stage. We have more important things to get to, like a random-ass speech by Stone Cold. The last few WrestleManias have been saved by part-time people. And the last few WrestleManias before that have been saved by people like Brock Lesnar, right? Or John Cena. Or, special attractions. Like, for example, I'll give you an example, right? A few WrestleManias ago, there was a match. It was like Miz versus Shane McMahon. With all things considered, that was one of the best matches of that WrestleMania because it's the only one that I remember, right? It did the job. It was a unique proposition. There was a storyline, Then you have matches like Charlotte versus Becky versus Ronda Rousey. Nobody cares. People cared far more for Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle versus Stephanie and Triple H. That felt like a big deal. And that's pretty much what they failed to capture now. Nothing feels like a big deal. Now, they know this, right? Because they're not stupid. And instead of actually creating things that are big deals, what they do is what I've been calling them out for the last year. They instead take everything that's not a big deal and then psyop you. They basically gaslight you into thinking it's a big deal, right? So here's how it works. Cody Rhodes wrestles 7 times a year, so they want you to think it's a big deal when he wrestles the 8th time against Cena. No, it's not a big deal, because it's still fucking Cody Rhodes. Gunther never wrestles anymore. You know what I mean? So it's a big deal when he wrestles Jey Uso. No, it's not a big deal, because it's fucking Gunther and it's fucking Jey Uso. Same thing with the women's. Charlotte Flair's back. It's a big deal. Is it? I'm kind of over her, motherfucks. You know why? Because even though she's great in the ring, apparently, Charlotte Flair has never entertained anybody. A lot of people, especially with the women's revolution, all this stupid crap, they seem to believe that because Charlotte can do a twirling moonsault, which is very impressive, that this makes her interesting. No, she has no personality. Her personality is copying her father's mannerisms very, very poorly because the level of charisma that Ric Flair has is like 10 out of 10 and Charlotte is more like a 3 or 4 out of 10, if that, not even, honestly, right? We need people that feel like big deals. And in order to do that, you have to work in advance. You can't wait until Elimination Chamber and then tell people, oh, it's a big deal. Oh, a dream match. You're going to hear, a dream match, Cody versus Cena. No, it's not a dream match. That's a match we've seen 100 times, and the logical conclusion is John Cena does the AA on this jobber, and that's it. Before this period, these last, let's say, 6-7 years, right? WrestleMania was predicated upon it being a big deal. And there were certain Vince McMahon level things that were put in place to ensure it's a big deal. Now, obviously, it fluctuates. Some years it's a much bigger deal than others. So one year, I forget which WrestleMania it is, they had like the national anthem, and it was sang by Boyz II Men, which were, and in my opinion still are, a legendary R&B group, right? Everybody likes Boyz II Men, right? And in the 90s, Boyz II Men were massive. Now, it's going to be sang by some like person that got 5th place on American Idol that nobody knows who the fuck they are, right? You could put a gun to the audience members' heads and say, who the fuck is that? And they'd be like, I have no idea, Now, this is a byproduct of things just overall being inferior. I noticed, I came across the clip. It was like, awkward award show moment, some goofy shit. There's a lot of things from the 2000s. And there was a point in the Grammys where Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears, who both looked amazing, were having a little award presentation ceremony, and it was awkward because they gave it to Eminem. And I thought to myself, you're never going to see 2 women this good looking on TV, like ever again. You know what I mean? Like, now you're going to get some piglet that looks like shit, right? And they're going to be like, don't worry about it, bro. She looks good. No, she doesn't. You You got like Ariana Grande, this mousy bitch. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of seeing her. They're like, oh, she's so good looking. No, she's not. She looks like a fucking high schooler, and she's like almost 30 or some shit. You know? Enough, man. You know? We need some sex appeal. We need some masculine appeal. We need some things that put the thing forward. Mayweather, for all the shit that he gets, is a cool dude. He's going to get butts and seats. The philosophy of the match is going to get butts and seats, because it's not only boxing versus like wrestling, right? It's Mayweather versus Big Show, which really goes to show this whole philosophy of like, oh, Mayweather's a trained athlete. He would destroy the Big Show. No, he wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. People like Henry Cejudo would just single leg Big Show. Big Show would like look at him and be like, what the fuck is this little jabron doing? You know, like Henry Cejudo, like 3 Henry Cejudos cannot lift the Big Show's leg unless he lets them. You know what I mean? So the point is, that was a wonderful match because they all put in a lot of hard work, right? The match had a storyline. The match had a beginning, a middle, and an end. The storyline had a beginning, a middle, and an end. And you had the Big Show, who is obviously super underrated, and Mayweather, who, given what he is, you know, a boxer, did the best he could, and he provided a good, entertaining match where he won the Big Show through cheating by brass knuckles, right? During that storyline, Big Show started off as a heel, then Mayweather got the heel heat. It was just a very well-done storyline. But one other thing that past WrestleManias had that ensured they were going to be considered big deals was 2 words, motherfuckers. The Undertaker, playa. Well, that's 3 words because I added playa in the end. The Undertaker, right? The Undertaker's presence for WrestleMania was largely what made WrestleMania. Because at the very end, if your main event, if like your World Heavyweight Championship match is Edge versus Chris Jericho, which is more fit for an Intercontinental title match, but now it's for the world title. If that's your match, whatever. At the very least, in a few matches, you're going to get to see The Undertaker. And you're going to get to see the built-in storyline of, will Undertaker's streak be broken? Now we don't even have that anymore. We don't got Brock Lesnar. Cena's going to come back, but it's the last time. So next WrestleMania is going to be even worse. Right? Because they don't even have a Cena. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, to me, it's like it's either CM Punk versus Logan or Cena versus Logan. One of those two has to happen, right? Because that's the only match that could be a WrestleMania match. Right? Think about where we've gone. We've gone from The Undertaker to Logan Paul being one of the only special attractions. Logan Paul, motherfuckers, who I like, but who I recognize is just Logan Paul. Now, with all that being said, where does the blame fall? Well, obviously, the blame primarily is going to fall on Triple Cuck. You know? Triple Cuck is the one that screwed it all up. But it also falls on the overall booking and the overall presentation of the WWE. If you have someone like Austin Theory, who you have built up as a guy that beat Cena, I believe, at WrestleMania, and now this asshole and his partner go on NXT to lose to Obafemi, something went wrong. Grayson Waller shouldn't be employed. At this juncture, Austin Theory shouldn't be employed. He has not grown at all in the last year. He has regressed. The fact is that last WrestleMania, they were teasing the breakup of Waller and Austin Theory. And this WrestleMania, they're still a tag team. And if they break up, if you give them a WrestleMania match, that's just, you might as well just have the hater go over there and take a shit in the middle of the ring. That would probably be more entertaining. You see what I'm saying? They've gone to the well one too many times. There has to come a point where literally nobody could possibly care about Cody Owens and Sami Zayn. As I've said on this channel, I refuse to cover anything that has to do with these two guys. Maybe ever, right? Now, obviously, if it's like Sami Zayn versus John Cena, I'm going to talk about that. But insofar as when they work together, I have no interest in any of this shit. As soon as I see Kevin Owens' dumb face or Sami Zayn's shitty haircut, I will fast forward this motherfucker as quickly as I can. That's one of the reasons why I want to watch Raw with no commercials, so I can fast forward as well from Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I have no interest in this at all. At all. This is the first time in wrestling history, and the haters' history, where I've had no interest in something. Right? Especially when it involves male wrestlers. Because some of the female matches, like, I don't give a flying fuck, you know? But even that is more compelling at this point. I don't care if Kevin Owens beats Sami Zayn or if Sami Zayn beats Kevin Owens. Nothing will change. And tomorrow, the day after WrestleMania, they're going to come out and say, I want more. I've been held down. Their whole careers are them bitching and moaning about how they're not good enough, and we have to pretend that they are. In this new age of pretending that lies are the truth, those guys epitomize it perfectly. And they are a big part of why this WrestleMania doesn't feel like a WrestleMania. Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn is not even a Saturday night main event worthy match. This is a throwaway, like middle of the show, 9:30 p.m. match on SmackDown. That's what this is. This is as compelling as Andrade versus like Carmelo Hayes for the 15th time. Nobody cares, motherfuckers. Nobody cares. Unless it's like a death match and like one of them like dies, which I wouldn't wish on anybody, but you understand. Right? It's over. WrestleMania, for the first time maybe ever, just doesn't feel like a WrestleMania. Nothing big is planned or expected. Now, they might finagle an Undertaker appearance or some bullshit like that. But that's not going to be enough this year. Just like it wasn't enough last year. The Undertaker, him showing up and chokeslamming someone, nobody cares about that. The Rock's presence was welcome and was great. And now they're like, oh, we can't get The Rock, let's put in Cena, let's make a thing out of it, right? But next year, there's no Rock, presumably. I mean, unless The Rock comes back, then it's a good WrestleMania. But there's going to be no Cena. Nobody else matters. Now you look back at all the WrestleManias that are recent, right? A lot of the moments that felt big were, for example, Stone Cold wrestling Kevin Owens. Vince McMahon wrestling, I guess, Pat McAfee, or whatever the fuck that was. That was a match, right? Even like Snoop Dogg coming in to save the fucking event. It was going to be like Shane was going to come up and, and beat up like Miz. Shane does a little hop, tears like his ACL or some shit out for the rest of his life, basically. And Snoop Dogg has to win with an elbow drop. Shout out to Snoop Dogg for doing that. We need big names. If you're not going to make big names, bring big names. But recognize what is and what is not a big name. Like a Timu version of Ariana Grande singing the national anthem is not good enough. Ariana Grande singing the national anthem is not good enough. Nothing is good enough. Cuckolds.